Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the Jade Gemini. This evening I'm super excited to go ahead and bring a review of this guy right here. This is the Wuben E7 90-degree working, also headlamp LED light. So today what I'm going to go over is I'm going to go over what I like, what I love, what I dislike, and if it applies, what is rubbish about this little light. Before we get into that, let me go and get some size comparisons out of the way of this light. So first, we're going to have it against a more common light. This is the Olight Warrior Mini 3, so the third generation. And then we're also going to get another sort of common light. This is the Rook and Titanium. So this is actually a pretty smaller compact light compared to this, a little bit more in diameter, but as you can see, even this is shorter. To get a really good size comparison as well, we're going to take a look at a micro light or an accessory light, yet to be reviewed, but this is the Olight O-Clip. So as you can see, not too much bigger than your O-Clip here. So some definite cool things going on in the Wuben, which we'll talk about. Now, before we get any more information out of the way, what I do want to say is first, I am so happy and appreciative of Wuben themselves sending me this light in for review. So that's a big thing. I've actually been looking at Wuben for a long time. I even bought the Al 0X, or Night, sorry, my bad, 0X, or X0, whichever, and was impressed with that light. It just didn't get a review on the channel, but they're doing good stuff, so thank you so much for them sending me out the information, or sorry, sending me out the light for review, my bad. Now, before we get into what I like, love, dislike, and if it applies, what is rubbish, we're also going to get some of the stats of the light out of the way. So I posted them up here for the little E7. So you get an idea. This is a 18,000 lumens. This is the 6500K cool white version of this light. This uses an OSRAM, which is definitely good to see a known brand that we know can produce high quality emitters. You know, the W1, the W2, I think are their bread and butter. This is the P9. And you can just see some other things, just your sort of standard, your IP68, your 1.5 meters of drop, right? Pretty lightweight at only 2.8 ounces. And then you just get some simple idea of some of the run times. Not too bad at 60 hours. I mean, it's not days and days and days, right? 30 days, but also it's 5 lumens. It's not half a lumen, right? So just give some ideas out of the way of what we're working with here. So with all that out of the way, let's jump in to our Wuben E7. So the first thing that I like right out of the gate with this so much is actually the pocket clip, right? Silly thing to start with, but pocket clip is one of those things that on a flashlight gets easily forgotten. So with this pocket clip, instead of being something like this, which is actually a really good clip on this Skill Hunt, sorry, coffee's wearing off and everything, but on the Skill Hunt, it's just a sort of simple bend clip. It's actually a really good one, but it just sort of mounts on. And these are okay. There's even worse clips that I've had on lights, maybe some lower end lights or entry level lights. You'll go ahead and get something that is technically just meeting the standard. With this, it's really easy in and out of the pocket. It has this nice scoop up, this tension right here, and then this flat, as well as a bend over that actually mounts into the light itself. So they did a really good job at designing this to be a lot more like a pocket knife clip than just a pocket light clip, right? That is a cheapie or meant to bend or meant to be taken off and on. It's bolted into the light, which we'll talk a little bit more about, but overall, pretty good. There's maybe a couple qualms about it, but overall, definitely a good knock out of the park to start off with. The next thing that I do like a lot about this light is the fact that this is a USB rechargeable light. This isn't any world breaking, but at the same time, there's some lights that you have to open up the seals to get into the battery to charge it, which has some appeal within itself. But I like this, that you can just simply take right out of here and just charge right off of any desktop computer, power bank, you know, little lightning brick, whatever have you. Another thing that I like a lot about this, which I find is interesting because this is only about a 9,000 milliamp hour battery, but the way that this works is you can also use this to charge other devices. So you can plug this in to the phone. Hold on. Maybe you can hear this here. Oh, must have it on mute. But anyways, it's charging the iPhone. So it's a cool thing. Again, not a big battery, but we will talk about why that is a little bit more useful. But again, if you're in a situation where you're in a pinch, you're at a work site, maybe you're camping, you forgot to charge your phone itself, right? The GPS was running in the background, maybe YouTube app was running, or you fell asleep, music was streaming, whatever have you. I would rather get that 5–10% to make that emergency call and get back in action than say, well, technically this is a smaller battery, so we're not even going to put the capability into the light. I really appreciate them doing that. Speaking of the battery, another thing that I like is that this is using a little bit more common of a everyday light. So, you know, used to be the CR123s, I think they are. They used to be the standard in sort of the military community and commonly used. Now with the newer technologies, we saw the 14500s become popular because it's a spicy AA, and now what's coming out is the 1800 series of lights, but the 18350, which is the larger 18650, just shortened. So this is becoming a more standard light. Like, you are going to have lights, if you're a light enthusiast, that are in this size. Also, this is another thing. This light looks great, right? It almost looks like it's kind of like this O-clip where it's an integrated light built in, but I'm holding it in my hand here. This 1100 milliamp hour battery here. And so this is another thing, because this means that if you did get in a pinch or you had multiple of these, you could just as easily take out of a different light another 18650 out of this ray light here, pop it in here in an emergency, and be able to power on the light. Sorry, I was like, why is it sticking out like that? But it's just the way that it's actually designed. But anyways, the idea stands that you can, what is actually going on here though? I guess this is a little bit longer because it's protected or something. But if you have a standard, you know, 18650 light, you're going to be able to put that in, or 18350, sorry, you're going to be able to put that in. Of course, in living color, it doesn't work, but I'm sure if I had my Workos, you know, light, it would go in no problem whatsoever. But I'm not going to force it in there, but you get the idea. You'd be able to put it in the light without any sort of, you know, issues most of the time. The other thing is that means it is user serviceable. So even if you just charge via the port this one light again and again and again over multiple years, once this battery does start to die, as all batteries will, you can just simply service it yourself, take off the cap, which they did an amazing job with the design to look almost integrated. Look at how that perfectly lines up there. Looks like it's a part of the light milled in, but you can just as easily take that off, replace it, and be back in action for years to come. So definitely something I like a lot with the Wuben E7. I also like the fact, again, I mentioned it, but that you are getting a reputable light emitter here. You're not getting some mystery brand, right? Or anything like that. You're getting an OSRAM, a name brand, just a, good ups to see. So overall, the light itself, good pocket clip, usable, serviceable battery, common battery size, like I said, in living color, not so much, but it is. So you could swap it out. Charges by a USB Type-C right off the light itself. Just a lot to love here, or a lot to like. Getting into what I love next about the light itself, there is so much. Look, guys, the thing is about this light is what I have been hoping for so long. And what I mean by that is this is the perfect, whenever I think of a, sorry, let me back up. Whenever I think of a 90-degree light, a light that you hold like this out, right? Instead of a light that you hold like this and it shoots out. I always think of this as a little bit more of a working light. I sit it down and I illuminate a surface out in front of you, right? Or maybe you stick it on a magnet and, it shoots out in front of you as well. And you can kind of angle it up and down and illuminate what's in front of you, right? The thing that I've always felt so much fell short of these lights is by a perfect example like this O clip, right? When you look at the way this light shoots out, it shoots out like this, right? And then the beam's somewhere over here. So here's the beam shot. You get a circle around here about that big, and then you have a hot spot like that, right? So the problem is if you have to still aim this where you're wanting to look at. To me, I should be able to kind of generally aim something in the direction and work in a large space as a working light. And no light has ever met that standard except finally now with the E7. So when you crank this thing up, you can just see you're getting this extreme fan. And you also get a fuzzy hotspot in the middle. This really shows you. I have it all the way off camera, this direction, this direction. It is completely flooded in every way. So this flood pattern is what I feel that work lights, all work lights should have. And Wuben has just killed it. They have this sort of reflector, I don't know if this, and a TIR hybrid. So you have a reflector to throw the beam. Oops, sorry. Well, that's something that we'll talk about what just happened there a little bit later. But you have, as you can see, even from barely on the side, you can see that's going into the camera. So that's also going into your eye. So that means that the light is being thrown directly out of the side. You don't have to hold it like this before it shines in your eyes. As soon as it goes around this bezel, it's shooting into your eyes. And then, of course, you have that throw, the hot spot right there. When you compare that to another light, this light here, you can see that you can kind of see the light, but just now it's starting to go into your eyes here. And then you get the full hot spot. So you can see that here by having a nice defined hot spot here and then the secondary instead of it just being all flood. So that's a really big deal if you set this down, if you're in a car engine or you're lighting up a campsite, or again, you're working, construction, or maybe you're an electrician or whatever the case would be, you could put this down and illuminate a whole entire site and not constantly have to adjust the light itself. I think that this is just perfect, and this is what I've been looking for so long with a work light.
Okay, so just to give you an idea of the performance and beam shot of the Wuben E7, I've got it here, but before I show you it, I have a light that is one of my favorite lights of all time, and I think it is more than a normal, floody more than an EDC light, it's a little bit more floody, right? So this is the Mini Pineapple Max, essentially. So with this, you can tell, it might be hard to see, but essentially in the middle here, you've got a little bit of a dispersed flood, and that's because of the orange peel on the reflector breaks up that hot spot. And then you also have a wide solid flood. So I can see about here to here, right? So not bad, right? And then if I kick it up more, right, I'm getting a little bit more here, a little bit more here. It's starting to get dark there, and it's starting to get dark there. And then, you know, I can kick it up here, and it's kind of the same situation, right? It's definitely usable in a way, you know, I can see all the way over here, all the way over here, look left and right. So not bad for an EDC light, right? For a, you know, handheld light, that sort of stuff. When it comes to the E7 though, it's definitely a different beast. So when I kick it on, you've got a smaller defined hotspot, but I'm still going. That is the flood that I get. This whole entire area over here, as I'm walking. So I'm holding it in front of me, right? I can see in front of me with the spot, but all of this is flood. So if this is a headlamp type situation, I could easily guide and see to the left and see to the right and have, you know, aware of my situations, whether I was, you know, again, backpacking, I was hunting, I was doing a work job site, or even as a just handheld EDC light and you weren't going to use the headlamp. You've got that amazing ability for so much flood, and you've still got that usable hotspot, so you're not sacrificing like you usually find with a flood. I mean, up in the trees, right? And this is only medium. You've got this insane, right? All of this in front of you is turning to daylight. Like, actually, it's like that. A curtain right at my feet. Intense, right?
It doesn't just stop there though. The next thing is it does have a simple UI, which we'll get to, but for the most part, I like this, right? Sometimes you can get too complex or too many UIs and too many adjustabilities, right? And, you know, some like this, which are great, but like, you know, you're kind of half pressing and then accidentally you unpress it and then it goes back and it double taps accidentally. And this is just as simple and clean cut as it gets, right? You have a low, a medium, and a high in the O-Light way. So you turn it on, you press and hold to cycle through 3 modes. That's simple. You double tap to turbo, triple tap for an oscillating strobe, and then triple tap again for SOS mode. So goes back to strobe, as you can see. And then, oh, sorry, my bad. 4 clicks, you get 3 prompts to let you know that you are in a lockout, and then just the top, you know, blinks, and you click 4 times again to get the light back on. So really, really simple. You know, overall with this, anybody could pick this up from an O-Light and learn how to use it. Yeah. The next thing is just the design here that I absolutely love with Wuben. That is what they are killing so much with their lights. So you get all these different designs here. You get all these nooks, these jut outs here. You have these vent looking things here that concave in and then yaw out. You have these little vent traction parts on the bottom here. You get this bezel with these 4 screws on the front, right? And then you get this really cool top that has these buttons and the surrounded button here. Other nicety is a metal button, right? Also illuminated, nice. You also get this dual access you know, like I said, simple USB Type-C that's actually mounted by the clip itself. So it's actually held on there, kind of unique, kind of neat, right? Let me turn this up a little bit. So just overall, they did yeah, it's much better. They just did a really, really good job. And the really cool thing, I think some people might go against the company for this, but I actually think it's innovative. The other thing to love is that this light is right at $50 with all this performance, the technology, the charge back, right? A good battery, magnetic tail cap, also gotta love that. Good clip. And the thing is it's like $50 or $45. The craziest thing about this is that they can do this because this is actually cast. So they cast this part, right, to be able to have all these details, these chamfers, these Star Wars, industrial, Neo-Tokyo, really, really cool design, because they cast this part and then they machine and mill into it and anodize it, and you get, just a working light. So overall, you're getting something really cool for not too much money, something that's really unique and that separates itself from the competitors. Yeah, it's just really great in that way. I can't complain too much about that. The last thing I'll say that I love is actually the headband, right? So normally when I get headlamps, I don't usually care too much about the headband itself because of the fact that you have to take the clip off and scratch the light really, really bad, and then sort of readjust the clip perfectly, and the clip moves back and forth, and I just don't like all that. With Wuben, though, they've re-engineered it from the ground up a really, really smart way. So they actually have this bring it as you are, mount the whole entire light into the system. So you simply put the pocket clip in this tray, and you put the hexagonal design, or octagonal design, my bad, back in here. There's actually a locking part on the back that the light itself actually goes into right there, see? So show you that again. You just sort of push and wiggle until it clicks, and now it's locked in so tight, and it's got these detents that enable you to precisely control and aim whatever you're looking at on the light itself. And you get these rubber which keep it from, even on hair that's longer like mine, or if you're sweating or if you're running, it keeps sweat out of your brow and it keeps it in place. It also keeps you not having to ratchet this thing so tight on your head, because it aids in traction and moving around. So I've actually used this. So see, right now is a perfect example. My wife just accidentally dropped a glass salad bowl, and so I was using the E7 at its 90-degree, like sitting off of here or on the floor, and I can see the shimmering. Now that I'm actually sweeping around the house and looking for any of them that are hidden that maybe got yeeted across the entire room, thrown across the floor, right? Now I just snap it right inside of the headband here without having to modify anything. So, there's no need to take off the pocket clip. When I'm done, I just pull it right off, and it's right there as is. So, really, really cool, and actually making it where you'll actually use it more as a headlamp, because you don't have to scratch everything or be inconvenienced to take off that clip. Okay, so as you can see in that, it's just so easy to pick up and say, oh, I need it for the head mount. Let me just mount that up right away. Okay, now I'm done. Now I can take and throw this back into my pocket and throw this back in a backpack. It's not a big deal. And so because of that quick in, out, you don't have to worry about things going awry. You can just use it as you want, and this actually gets used as a headlamp as it's intended. The other thing that I do love is if you need more power for the working department, whether you're going on a long camp or again, you're doing a long work where you're underground, you're doing electrician, something like that, you're going for a run. Wuben also sells a themed, so it looks just like this and integrates beautifully, but they actually sell a longer 18650 with longer battery life, battery within the light itself, which is really, really nice. And they even sell a hands-free sensor that you can plug in and just wave your hand instead of having to push the button and cycle between those 3 simple modes. So really cool to have these sort of add-ons and these advancements to the light itself. You've also got this, magnet, which means that you can have it in all sorts of different situations, be able to angle the way that you need and get the light that you need in that moment. So not that one thing in this light is necessarily revolutionizing everything, but overall together, they just hit all the little components: the flood, the really high lumen performance, the runtime, the lightweightness, the right pocket clip, the quick in and out actual head, mount that you'll use, right? The expandability, both in having some extra batteries that you can just put in and out, instantly get back in action, instead of like some headlamps that are, are rechargeable only, right? Or that don't go into the pocket and only function as a headlamp. Overall, I just think there's so many pros about this light. It's awesome. I love it. Now, even though I do love this light, like anything, I like to be fair, even if I'm sent something. And so there is some things to dislike about the Wuben. The first thing is onto the casting. We talked about that. But because of the casting process itself, there is imperfections, right? Understanding that this is a working light, it's a $50 light, and you're getting so much for your money, I can easily overlook these things, and I'm usually pretty particular with these specific things with my eye, but to your eye it might not be acceptable. But some of the things you'll end up finding there are in the light itself: little rough marks, little dimples here and there, right? Lumps, little tiny knots in the metal, and those are just like little casting marks. And so these little things are just because of that casting process. Again, overall, I think as an overall working light, it looks great. I'm not taking it too serious. But if you want that crispness, that perfectness, you might want to go something for like their night, for example, or something else that's milled in their range instead of cast. Also, the other thing is, although I love this because you're not scratching the light on the end off because of the pocket clip, you're kind of scratching in a different way because of this collar that's right here. So when you take the light in and out, even after the first time, there were these heavy scoring marks right here in the light. Let me see if I can get up on those. Yeah, see? Heavy scoring marks all around, right? So I don't know if that'll wear over time or if it just scratches the surface coating of the light itself. But again, just one of those things. There's a better idea of those casting marks I was talking about. And there's just little tiny imperfections all over the light that you can just see. Again, not a big deal for me, but it could be a big deal for some. So that's another thing to dislike. The other thing that I do dislike is this pocket clip. I wish they would have made sort of conical recessed screws. They've made these screws that stand up, and what you find is they just get stuck right here, and you're playing the shimmy up and down game until you finally get lucky enough to be able to get it deep into the pocket. Now, it is beautifully deep once it's there, but again, you're playing this shimmy game where the fabric gets bunched up, and you're just, yeah, not great, to be honest, with that. The other thing that I would say is with the UI, it is simple, but sometimes it is a little clunky. Like if you hit something, sometimes it's like, okay, wait, what's going on? Oh, I think I hit it once, I let go. Oh, it's turbo. There's no way to cancel that out. So if you accidentally hit something, it's going to flash into your eyes, right? Like that, see 3 modes. You could say, oh, you could charge up a turbo in an emergency situation, but again, this isn't a tactical light. So sometimes I have found myself just trying to turn it on and forgetting it's like a, you know, doesn't have a moonlight, and I like let go and then it doesn't go off, or sometimes I'll like press it and then all of a sudden it goes to like strobe or turbo, right? It doesn't have like, if you hold it for long enough and let go, it just cancels out. It will launch that mode. Also, in that same thing, what I do dislike is the fact that no moonlight. Why? You know what I mean? I see that moonlight is a very useful light mode for long, you know, running times. And again, this light is just as much as an EDC pocket light as it is a working, you know, utilitarian light, right? So I don't see really a disadvantage of putting a moonlight in personally. I don't think that it would cost that much more to the price. Even if it added $5 more, I would pay that. The other thing, kind of in that same guise of, you know, putting things in, why not the strobe, right? If you are putting this as sort of a outdoors working light, why not put a strobe mode on that would just save battery, right? Get a longer, you know, running lifetime than the 60 hours or whatever it is. You know, how hard would it be to put that third specialty mode in as a strobe mode, right? The other thing that I do dislike, and this is more personal, right? This does have a lot of performance and a lot of power, but with that idea of this being less of a tactical light, right, and more of a working light, this is a little too blue for me. I would definitely head for the 5000 and take a little bit of a hit. You are still getting so much performance. Even with all that flood, a lot of performance, as you saw in the beam shot. But it just feels uncomfortable and stings my eyes, and having that nicer 5000K would be the way that I would go if I was you. Of course, I was sent this light. I might still pick up this light because I love it so much, and just maybe give this one away or something like that. But overall, you know, again, we're counting pennies here. I would just personally make that recommendation to you. Overall, there's nothing really to say is rubbish about this light. The only thing I would say is a red light mode, right? This light, if you took two little red LEDs here, or maybe replaced one of these and made this just 800 lumens or 900 lumens, right? And then on the other one, made it like a red mode, you know, I think personally this would rock if it was a multi-adjustable red mode. Then you could have that really high 6500K max performance, but then you could also have that eye comfort, you know, working long time with a red light mode. So it's not available yet, but I would make a suggestion to Wuben. If you want to make an E7 Plus or an E7R with a red light mode, I will buy it. You will get my money, and I'm pretty sure you'll get a lot of other people's money too, because this light is so excellent. And that sort of wraps me up to everything, right? This is a more budget-friendly light. So we're not looking at super titanium or, you know, spending a little extra money to get every little nth of every little corner perfect, right? And Wuben can do that. They definitely can. But this is just in a little bit more of a budget line, kind of like Kaiser's Vanguard series, right? But for everything that you get as a working light, absolutely outstanding. I mean, the looks, the angular G-Shock, really cool looks, right? That Star Wars, that, you know, again, Cyber Neo Tokyo look of everything, from the smart, actually you're going to use it, headband, to the ability to charge in a pinch, to, you know, ultimate performance when it comes to finally the perfect flood pattern. I mean, everything gets illuminated. This actually turns, as you saw in the video, nighttime into day, or a working space into day, because it illuminates everything, right? And it's so powerful, you still get some distance, right over 100 meters. You can't go you can't go wrong, honestly. And so if you have looked at this light and been like, it's cool, but I don't know, maybe I have a 90-degree light, or maybe I really don't know about that, I think that you're gonna love this light. I think it's outstanding, and I suggest it wholeheartedly. So if I didn't mention it already, thanks to Wuben again. Also, there is a link down in the description. It will give you guys a discount code. I also believe they sort of track if you do click that link that, hey, watch this video and bought that light, right? So don't buy it if you don't want this, right? But if you're gonna buy this light and you're like, let's do it, right? I would appreciate you click my link so they just know, hey, let me send them another light to review as well. Get some cool stuff on the table. Most importantly though, honestly, I appreciate you taking time to watch this video, as there's so many amazing content creators you could be watching, and you've decided to click on my little channel over here. I can't thank you enough for that. Of course, for more EDC content, more lights to be reviewed, right? More watches, everything. Go ahead and click that subscribe button if you like this kind of content, and leave any comments down below if you do have any. I love fellowshipping with you guys. Thank you so much just for taking time to watch this video. I hope everybody stays safe and has a great rest of your week. You take care. Peace.